John. What do you want this time?
I don't have my camera.
And I said, John, I just want to talk to you for a minute.
Look, you come up to me.
You know, I never meant to cause you any grief. I said, I really, really feel bad that you had gotten angry. I said, and if you tell me to leave you alone, I said, right now, I said, I will never come back here again.
I will never come back.
And I remember him looking right in my eyes, and he said, stop looking at me as a Beatle. You got to treat me just like you would treat anyone else. And he said, come on. And we walked, and we went for a walk.
You used to work for that television repair company.
Paul Gorish began to live out the fantasy of every Beatles fan. From time to time during the months that followed, Lennon would let Paul tag along when he ran errands and took walks in the neighborhood.
You know, we had gone for walks on several occasions, and sometimes they wouldn't be long at all. I mean, I don't want to be misleading. Sometimes they'd be 5-10 minutes, but they were an eternity for a fan. And I remember we were walking one day, and I said to him, if it's not going to hurt our relationship, however little it is, if I could get a picture, you know. And he laughed, and he said, yeah. He says, when we're ready to go public, he said, I'll have my guy call you, and you can take all the pictures you want then. He says, because I think I'm getting ready.
6 months later, John Lennon hired a professional photographer to promote his return to the music world after a 5-year hiatus. Remarkably, Lennon kept his promise to Paul Gorish. He invited Paul to bring his camera and attend the session.
Paul, get your shot?
Yeah.
And John turns, and he spots me, and he says, Paul, you made it. And he says, you know, I'm glad. Well, now you can take your picture. And it was funny because, like in the sequence of photos that I took, he's looking at me instead of the guy that they were actually paying.
Paul was astonished when this picture was chosen to grace the jacket cover of Lennon's hit single, Watching the Wheels.
When that record came out, I was so proud of it because there's only 5 names on the record. You know, there's John's name, Yoko's name, the producer of the record, the owner of the record company, and my name.
From that moment on, Paul Gorish was John Lennon's official, unofficial photographer. He became a fixture at the Dakota, documenting Lennon's comings and goings with dozens of informal snapshots. December 8th, 1980 was a day like any other, until Paul Gorish met another John Lennon fan named Mark David Chapman.
You waiting for Lennon?
Yeah.
So he said, I'm waiting to get my album signed. So I said, yeah, fine. So he says to me, where are you from? So I said, I'm from New Jersey. He says, no. I said, where are you from? He says, I'm from Hawaii. I said, where are you staying? And with that, he like snapped back, why do you want to know? And I was taken aback because he's the one that came over and initiated the conversation. I didn't even want to talk to this guy because I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wanted to keep John pretty much to myself. And I said to him, look, leave me alone then. I didn't ask you to come over here and talk to me.
3 hours later, John and Yoko left the Dakota for a studio session. Paul Gorish and Mark Chapman were both waiting.
Listen, do you have those photos that you were going to show me from... All right. Very studly.
Chapman walks up to John and holds the album out.
But do you want me to sign it?
And John looks at me like, you know, there's something strange. And as he's signing the album, I took a picture of him and Chapman. And after he signs the album, he then turns the album back to Chapman and raises his eyebrows and says, is that all right? And I took another picture with his eyebrows raised. And Chapman says, yeah, and steps back, like just back away. And John turned to me and looked at me like, you know, it's quite strange. As he was getting into the limousine, I took another picture of him. And John got into the limousine, and he was sitting looking at me. And as the limousine was pulling away, he waved to me. And I waved back, and that was the last time I ever saw him.
The last picture Paul took that night turned out to be the last photograph ever taken of John Lennon. For most of the world, this picture of John Lennon and Mark Chapman is the only important picture Paul Gorish ever took. Ironically, it may be the one photograph Paul Gorish would like to forget. For him, the dream was over.
It seems like a dream now. It definitely seems like a dream now, especially 10 years later. That's why I thank God for the pictures. And I'm very thankful for all the memories. He owed me nothing. But here's a man that's so special, and he's bothering to care a little bit about me. And I'll always remember that, and it'll always be special to me because he was so decent.